When their terms end, US presidents must move out of the country's most famous address and make other living arrangements. Some return to the homes they lived in before becoming presidents, while others move into even more opulent surroundings. When a president is living in the White House, his time there is illuminated by the spotlight. But when that president becomes a former president and the White House becomes the home of his predecessor, where does he go? For someone like President Obama, the answer is to remain in Washington, D.C., but that's an anomaly. In fact, he's the first president to do so since 1921. Read on for the details on where he's headed next, and the places 5 presidents before him chose as their new locales. Where do former presidents live? Number 9. President Obama, Kalorama, Washington, D.C. I'm like the old guy at the bar where you went to high school, right? Still kinda hanging around, like his shirt's buttoned a little too low, still thinks he's cool. That's exactly the description President Obama gave Jimmy Kimmel about himself in an interview last month while discussing his plans to stay in Washington, D.C. after his presidency. Come on, Obama, you know you'll always be cool after that drop the mic move. More specifically, the Obama family will unpack in Kalorama, a neighborhood just 2 miles away from the White House. The exclusive area has been home to past presidents both before and after their terms. Think Woodrow Wilson, William Howard Taft, Franklin D. Roosevelt, Warren G. Harding, and Herbert Hoover. Before the Obamas purchased it, the 8,200 square foot house they're moving into in Kalorama belonged to Joe Lockhart, who was the press secretary and senior advisor to former President Bill Clinton from 1998 to 2000. Number 8. Former President George W. Bush, Dallas, Texas. Known well for having a deep fondness of his home state, former President George W. Bush purchased a multi-million-dollar 8,500 square foot home in the Dallas neighborhood of Preston Hollow shortly before his second term ended in 2009, reports the Wall Street Journal. According to the Miller Center at University of Virginia, he and former First Lady Laura Bush became part of the Dallas community very quickly by hosting barbecues at the home and partaking in local events. The family had lived in Dallas before, from 1988 to 1995, before moving to Austin to live in the Texas governor's mansion. While the price tag for Bush's home is thought to have been quite large, the median price of homes currently listed in Preston Hollows is $549,500, or $221 per square foot, just slightly higher than the Dallas average of $189, according to Zillow. Number 7. Former President Bill Clinton, Chappaqua, New York. In 1999, shortly before the end of his term, the Clintons paid $1.7 million for an 11-room home in Chappaqua, New York. Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton was preparing to run for the United States Senate. The white, Dutch colonial house is shaped somewhat like a barn and is situated in a 3-lined cul-de-sac at 15 Old House Lane. In recent years, it was conveniently a short commute from Hillary Clinton's campaign headquarters in Brooklyn. It has 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, and a pool. Today, experts at Trulia estimate it would be worth about $2.7 million. In September, the Clintons also purchased a $1.16 million house next door, but the jury's still out on what it will be used for. Number 6. Former President George W. H. Bush, Kennebunkport, New York. Though it certainly isn't a new residence for Bush, his family compound was one of the first places he returned to after leaving the White House. Following his presidency, he and former First Lady Barbara Bush split their time between Houston, Texas and Kennebunkport, Maine, where the Bush family has owned property for more than a century. When Jeb Bush announced his presidential campaign last year, the compound started receiving more attention than usual as tourists traveled to the oceanside town for a glimpse of the mansion, reports the Washington Post. Still, locals are said to keep the exact location quiet out of respect for the family, and the house is protected by the Secret Service. According to the Washington Post, George and Barbara Bush still spend 6 months every year at the compound, flying the Texas flag when they're there. Number 5. Former President Ronald Reagan, Bel Air, California. Once Reagan's presidency ended in 1989, he retired to the wealthy Los Angeles neighborhood of Bel Air. It was actually purchased for the Reagans by their friends in the late 1986 for $2.5 million, according to the Los Angeles Times. The approximately 7,200 square foot house with 17 rooms across 2 floors sold to billionaire Jerry Parenchio in July 2016 for $15 million, reports the Los Angeles Times. Number 4. Former President Harry Truman. In 1953, former President Truman returned to the home he had previously shared with his wife, Bess, since they wed in 1919. 219 North Delaware Street in Independence, Missouri. Number 3. Former President Jacqueline Kennedy. Shortly after the death of her husband, John F. Kennedy, former First Lady Jackie Kennedy left the White House and retreated to their summer home in Hyannis, Massachusetts. The couple, seen here at the property in 1953 just after announcing their engagement, also had an estate called Wexford in Virginia, which was completed shortly before JFK's death. It sold in 2017 for $2.85 million after reportedly being listed for as much as $10 million. Jackie later owned several other residences, including an Upper East Side apartment overlooking the Central Park Reservoir, later renamed in her honor, a country house in Peapack, New Jersey, and a beach house on Martha's Vineyard, which was listed for sale for $65 million by her daughter Caroline in 2019. 40 years ago, my mother fell in love with Martha's Vineyard when she found Redgate Farm. It was a perfect expression of her romantic and adventurous spirit. Caroline explained in a statement to Christie's International Real Estate. Her mother had purchased the property for around $1 million in 1978. Number 2. Former President Jimmy Carter. No matter where life has taken me, from the governor's mansion to the White House, Plains has always been my home, Carter said in December after a number of local historic sites associated with him were officially dubbed a national park. Rosalind joins me in thanking Senator Perdue, Congressman Bishop, and the Georgia delegation for helping preserve my family's legacy. Number 1. Former President Donald Trump. Trump departed Washington, D.C. for his private Mar-a-Lago club in West Palm Beach, Florida, just hours before his successor, President Joe Biden, was sworn in. Ahead of his move, sources told People that the staff at the Oceanside Club have been preparing for Trump's arrival, renovating his 2,000 square foot residence at the club, which he purchased in the 80s. Former presidents have pursued a range of careers after departing the Oval Office. While many presidents have written books or made post office careers of giving speeches to earn income, others have started nonprofit organizations to continue the charitable endeavors they were able to support during their presidential tenures. William Howard Taft took a different route when he went on to become a Supreme Court justice, but after holding the highest office in the land, are presidents working because they have to or because they want to? And what retirement benefits, if any, do former commanders-in-chief get?